Eldrazi deck, as we will shortly get you into the match. So a flipped Jace on Shaheen's side, and actually, just as you mentioned, infinite obliteration happening right now. So that's the Memoricide style effect. You get to go through your opponent's deck and take cards out of it. You see how we're post-board here. It looks like he's nabbing the Gaia's Revenges.
I had to imagine this is the second time this is being cast here, because pretty hard to name Gaia's Revenge in the dark. It appears to be flashback via Jace, so I would assume Ulamogs have already been removed from Liang's deck, and now Gaia's Revenge also gone.
Yeah. I see over on Yong Lee's side, copies of a lot of those colorless lands. He'll crack a Hedron Archive. Sanctum of Ugin in play, another one in his hand. Actually not legendary. Ugin has many Sanctums. But the Jace, Telepath Unbound, doing work here. See, there are still some threats left in Liang's deck. We saw when Shaheen was going for it, cards like Whisperwood Elemental, still available. Of course, still has Ugin in the deck as well. So we see Explosive Vegetation getting a pair of forests here.
But Soorani's deck is well equipped to handle threats like this. The most problematic dimension of the deck is just Ulamog over and over again, smashing lands and wearing down Soorani's ability to win the game. With that off of the table now, with infinite obliteration, Liang can assemble some reasonable mid-range threats, but it's nothing that Soorani can't manage with counter spells and removal spells.
Yeah, I see Sanctum of Ugin, Forest, and complete disregard the remaining cards in Liang's hand. Does have a lot of mana in play. 2 copies of Sanctum in play. Has a Shrine of the Forsaken Gods that's online, thanks to the fact that he has 8 lands. But Shaheen is going to do the control thing. He'll cast a Dig Through Time. Just needs probably one or 2 counter spells to lock this one up. So he grabs 2 cards, has a Negate as one of them. Looks like Scatter to the Winds is the other. So there's a pair of counter spells.
Basically needs to dodge 1 draw here.
All right, here's Whisperwood Elemental from Liang. So that was his shot. He will get that one last creature in play. Shaheen will have to deal with it. He does have an Utter End at the ready, so maybe up to the task. But this much at least is good for Liang. So play Whisperwood. He has Blighted Woodland available in play along with lands, it looks like, to activate it. And it goes ahead and manifests 1 card off it. Shaheen, play a land and pass. Still an Utter End in Shaheen's hand. As we go back over to Liang's turn, draw was a Forest. Shaheen's hand very stacked here. He's got Narset Transcendent as well. So we talked about those control cards. We'll start to see them come out. Here's an Utter End. That'll take care of Whisperwood. Shaheen still has enough mana for Scatter to the Winds. Whisperwood Elemental was sacrificed in response to Utter End. That's why it hits the graveyard and not exile. For Shaheen, it's pass it back. It's Shambling Vent and cracking a fetch land.
Yeah, at this point, Soorani's, now that he's untapped with what he has left in his hand, it's just an issue of finding a way to win the game. The advantage that he's generated at this point and the amount of outs he's cut off in Liang's deck feels like it's going to be too much for Liang to overcome.
Yeah, it certainly does feel that way at the moment. You see another Utter End in Shaheen's hand, along with Negate, Scatter to the Winds. It's just to be unlikely for Liang to... I'm not even positive he has enough threats left in his deck to make it through that permission.
Yep.
Here's Narset. She will plus. Draw another Infinite Obliteration in from Shaheen. Jace will plus as well. He'll pass.
I like the infinite obliterations, just naming crappier and crappier creatures as the next one gets cast.
Yeah, you just kind of go down the pecking order. And you're like, oh,
yeah,
well, what do we have left?
Catacomb Sifter, I guess. Jotty Offshoot for the last one. Just get them all.
I would be very surprised if Jotty Offshoot still hits anything.
I doubt it's in the deck.
That'd be You might name it anyway, though. Just
gotta make
send a
sure-
message.
They gotta make sure.
Just tell them that you're getting all their creatures. Looks like a play is available for Liang. It's Hedron Archive. He'll pass. We go back over to Shaheen. Now remember, he can play Infinite Obliteration twice more this turn if he wants to. I think he's going to give it Rebound, actually. Okay, sure. All right. He's going to cast Infinite Obliteration. So you could do it 4 times. You could rebound it with Narset, and then you could flash it back and give it Rebound again, I believe.
Yep. This one's going after Whisperwood.
Sure. We'll see what else is even there. There's still 2 Ugins in the deck. There's still some number of Ugins. I don't know if there are other creatures. I don't believe so.
I think this game is actually locked now. We're assuming at this point that the manifest token is nothing of consequence because it's just been sitting there. And I think Soorani has more answers to Ugin than Liang has Ugins. And that's kind of it.
Yeah, Liang just with lands in play. Well, he's drawn 1 Ugin. You got to try it out. That was one of your only 4 draws in the deck that do anything.
And I think he picked up a sideboarded Duress.
All right.
Something.
Unfortunately, Shaheen has multiple counter spells in hand. He has Negate and Scatter to the Winds. So here's a Negate for the Duress. And Scatter to the Winds will hit the Ugin. But in the Young spot, this was your best shot.
Yep. Duress and Ugin, but you can't ask for much more. That's at least some hope.
There's Scatter to Winds. And with that, Liang will go ahead and extend the hand. So it is Shaheen Soorani making it into day 2. Esper Control taking green-black Eldrazi in 2 games. He moves to 7-1.
Have some Infinite Obliterations ready at this point in the metagame if you're going to be playing a control deck like Esper. If you're going to go on for a long time, it's hard to hang around. Even though Soorani won game 1, the matchup can be very challenging because Ulamog is a challenging threat to answer in time. And the easiest thing you can do is just take it out of your opponent's deck altogether.
Yeah. And just, as you mentioned it, that sideboard card, in a lot of decks for Ulamog this weekend, we've been seeing in most black sideboards.
And if these Eldrazi decks have anything in their sideboard, it's going to be solid mid-range creatures that can help out and help bridge the gap. And so Infinite Obliteration, it's very good against Ulamog. It's also a fine answer to Gaia's Revenge or Whisperwood Elemental or whatever other mid-range threats the Eldrazi deck happens to have in their sideboard for matchups like this.
See, it feels meaningful.